Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lauren Mian. I am currently based in New York, and today I'd like to talk about my experiences with sleep paralysis. Now, I invite you to imagine yourself waking up fully conscious, but your body has decided that you no longer exist in physical form and you can't move. You can't speak, and you're stuck in a medium that feels like there's no concept of time. Now, the first time this happened to me, I can remember waking up to the sound of clanking pipes from an old cabin heater, and I can feel that something is off. I can't immediately name it, but it's a subtle and eerie kind of wrong where your body knows the feeling before your mind can label it. I hear soft echoes of my name uttering down the creaky wooden hallway in the cabin I'm staying with my family, and suddenly a shadow begins to emerge from the cracks of the old wooden door to my room. It's completely dark otherwise. There are no streetlights bleeding through the windows, there's no sounds of passing cars, and it's just a heavy and still winter night where even the air feels thick. But the shadow emerging is a loud presence, and it quickly approaches. I try to move, and nothing happens. I can't sit up, I can't turn my head to see what's happening. I don't even flinch. At first, I thought that maybe I was just waking up in the middle of a dream and still groggy. So I tried again, and harder. But nothing. And then suddenly the panic hits me. I am fully awake, but I cannot move my body. My chest feels like something is pinning down on top of it that's impossibly heavy, pressing down like every ounce of me is glued to my cemented bed. And my mind starts to race because I've never felt this way before. It feels like someone is there right outside my door and something horrible is about to happen, but I'm not able to escape it because I can't move. And I can't even turn my head to check what's happening. I try to scream, but not even a whisper escapes, like a faucet running without water. So now I'm trapped in a body that won't respond, in a room that doesn't feel empty, and a moment that doesn't have a concept of time to it. And the strangest part is that, in this instance, time stopped behaving normally. There's no absolute metric of it. There's no sense of what moment you're in. It just feels like nothing is happening. And then all of a sudden, I feel like I'm dropping out of the sky, and all I can do is move one finger. It was so subtle and so small that I almost missed that the sensation came back, but it was just enough because I was so unsettled by it. And it wasn't permanent. There had to have been a release to this whole thing. I fight for another finger, and then suddenly my hand jerks up, and my lungs finally fill with air again properly, and I sit up. My heart is racing at this point, but I'm dropped back into reality. Suddenly, the room remains unchanged again. The shadow goes away. All of the furniture is as still as it was when I fell asleep. but something is totally different, and I'm completely different because I've never felt as powerless as in that instance. Now, I hadn't known this at the time, but this is what sleep paralysis was, and I was only 12 years old when I first experienced it. But then it happened again and again, and every time it kept happening, it felt just as real and just as final. Because when you're in it, you don't remember that it ends, and you don't have a sense of time. There's no way to communicate with anyone or to prove that you're safe, even to yourself. So the mind decides to fill this space of silence with all of the possible thoughts that could be going wrong. And the scariest part is that you really can't say anything and no one can hear you. In that moment, I had no idea what was going on. I really thought that that could have been the end. It didn't feel real, but it also felt way too real at the same time. And I felt completely alone, and all I wanted to do was call out to somebody to help, but I couldn't even use my voice. It wasn't until a couple years later of having these repeated sleep paralysis experiences that I learned what it was. And ironically enough, I had learned about it because I was on social media, and as the media does, I found a post where somebody was making fun of what they called their sleep paralysis demon lurking in the back of their room. Suddenly, this whole experience had a name, and though somebody was making fun of it online as a means of coping through it, I still was brand new to this idea, and it was very terrifying to me. But now it had a name, sleep paralysis, and it was a shared experience. And that, to me, was probably the most enlightening thing to have happened, because I realized I no longer was alone in it, and that this is something that happened to other people too. And it's something that happens, and there is a tangible explanation. And then the story wasn't just mine. I learned that my aunt had it, my grandfather, my friends, other classmates. There were thousands of people describing the exact same situation of waking up though not being able to move. And for the first time, though this was such an isolating experience, I no longer felt alone in it. Now, the big thing with this whole experience for me is not just that I've overcome it, but it's what it taught me about the rest of my life. And to me, that is, sleep paralysis itself is physical, but surviving it is a mental game, because it still happens to me all of the time. It actually just happened a couple days ago, so this is very appropriate. But in that moment, instead of caving into the fears of it, I remind myself that this moment too shall pass, and that I'm not alone in it, and that there are other people who experience it. Because it's not just about the sleep. To me, it's symbolic of every other moment in my life where I've felt like I wanted to make a change, or I felt unheard and wanted to do something about it, but was feeling disconnected or frozen, or feeling powerless in those moments. But the real battle is convincing yourself that you're not, and that there are other people around too. This whole story really resonates with me, and is something that has been transformative in my career as well, because I am a songwriter, and a lot of what I do is share about my feelings through music. It's always been a way to express the emotions that I have in ways that words alone can't really do. And so for me, taking this experience and putting it into words in a song with melodies that express the fear and everything else around it has been really empowering for me. And the big takeaway that I have from this is that sleep paralysis is one example of it, but there are so many instances in life where you have to fight the mental battle of feeling like you're alone or incapable of doing something, and remind yourself that you completely are, and all you have to do is just take whatever it is you want to do and find a way to make it possible. Now, this experience has taught me one framework, and it's something that I would like to gift you with if you've been listening to this, because it's really helped me through not only my sleep paralysis, but everything else that I've been through. And that is the concept of raw. Recognize, articulate, and weave. Now, in the recognition process, it's been helpful for me to name whatever it is I'm feeling, because fear loses its power when it's defined. When you can point to exactly what it is and put a name to it, it no longer carries the same strength because it's not unknown. Now, this relates to articulating, which to me is expressing it honestly, giving it a voice and admitting that there is something scary about it, but in acknowledging that, again, it takes away its power, and it at least gives you a marker of where to start. And finally, weave. When you can connect it to something bigger than yourself and realize that other people are also going through it, it makes the whole experience a whole lot better.
Wow, Lauren, you have been through quite a bit. Very, very challenging.
Yes.
Now, how did these early experiences shape the way that you saw yourself and your safety in the world?
I think that because in this particular instance, sleep paralysis is something that occurs when you're by yourself and at night, and it's a very intimate part of your time. It is a little bit intimidating because you're alone to begin with, but then it kind of magnifies that feeling. And I think for me, it was really scary at first, but it also kind of taught me that if I'm in one of the most vulnerable states of mine, which is coming out of sleep and I'm by myself and it's the middle of the night, if I can get through that alone, I can kind of get through anything as long as I figure out how to collect myself and give myself those moments to regroup and assess from there.
Yeah, that cannot be easy. So, was there a moment when fear turned into understanding, and what shifted for you?
I think fear turned into understanding when I started to read articles of other people explaining the exact feelings that I was feeling during sleep paralysis. And when someone can articulate the exact experience you had, it no longer feels as unique to you. And
Mhm.
I think that's been really important. And it's something that connects a lot to my songwriting as an artist too, because my goal is to be a medium for other people to have that experience where they hear something that they felt and they hadn't had the words to express it, but suddenly I'm putting it in a way that resonates with them. And I think that's really important to me.
So, what does it feel like now when someone listens to your music and says, "That's exactly how I feel"?
To me, it's the most rewarding experience in the world, honestly. And I've always loved performing, not because I want to be the center of attention. I actually find that to be very intimidating sometimes, but because I enjoy being the medium in which art is expressed. And when somebody tells me that I'm doing a good job at that and that they feel connected to what I'm saying, it makes me feel like I'm helping them to not feel alone. And that is the best gift that I could have.
It makes such a big difference. So, how did songwriting become your way of processing something that you couldn't fully explain in words?
I started songwriting actually during COVID. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that kind of, for a lot of people, was a time where we didn't know what was going to happen next, and the uncertainty was really unsettling. And I had always been involved in some capacity in music, but I hadn't really tried taking my own words into that picture before. And
Yes.
I think writing really helped me to kind of just put the fears on paper and vocalize them, and suddenly I'm not carrying them myself. And so it helped me, and I think it helped others too understand where I was coming from.
I love that.
Thank you.
So amazing how creativity can help someone in that sense. Now, your song Calling
Yes.
came from a deeply personal place. What were you trying to express that you couldn't say directly?
I think having a song that outlines metaphors of how someone feels when they're going through sleep paralysis was important to me because to me, those lyrics, a push, a pull, a kickless screaming fight, that will always symbolize what I feel when I'm going through this. But I think I also realized that not only does it connect to people who have gone through sleep paralysis, it also connects to other instances where if someone is dealing with other hardships, whether it be depression or just a time of their life where they don't quite feel like they're on the right path. And so calling was a really important and personal song to me because it kind of put a lot of those ideas into a place that people could hear it.
That's just beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, do you think we all experience a form of being awake but trapped in life, even outside of sleep paralysis?
I do, yeah. I think that whether it's sleep paralysis or not, we've all probably had the feeling of being unable to move forward or stagnant in our lives, whether that's in an occupation that we don't enjoy or other mental hardships. I think life is very complicated and we're all going through it for the first time at the same time. And sometimes that's really scary. And so I do. I think that it is a universal experience, but I also think that there's beauty in recognizing that and recognizing that we all have those feelings and it shouldn't diminish that we all have them, but
Yeah,
it should bring a sense of comfort knowing that we're not alone in that.
I love that. So, what has this journey taught you about fear and how we can move through it?
I think it's taught me that fear is an emotion like anything else, and being able to label it and
Yes,
identify what about it makes us feel a certain way is really important. And I think it helps to take away limitations when you're aware of why you're fearful of something or what it is that's making you fearful. You're a step closer to combating those feelings. And I think that it's definitely easier said than done, and I'm still fearful of a lot of things, but it at least gives me a sense of comfort knowing that I can take a step back and work through anything if I really, really need to.
that's awesome. Now, you describe yourself as a medium for connection
Yes.
rather than the center of attention. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. I think I grew up performing live music a lot, and naturally when you are the one standing on stage in front of everyone, the eyes and the attention are on you. And
Yeah,
while that can be great and exciting at times, I think something that I've learned in performance especially is it's not necessarily what you look like while you're up there or what exactly you're doing, but it's the feelings that you give other people while you're up there. And that's what I mean by being a medium. It's being someone who can take an emotion that you have that's personal to yourself, but then expressing it in a way that other people understand it or can connect their own stories to it. And so I've been very conscious of trying to make sure that I don't get in the way of my own expression of art.
I love that. So, what responsibility do you feel knowing your story can help someone else feel less alone?
My biggest responsibility feels like it's important to me to talk about these things and give people a space to talk about their own experiences and listen and connect with one another. I think that as a songwriter, especially too, creating a space where people can connect their own stories to one another and have a sense of community around it. It's important to me to acknowledge that that is happening, and for as long as I can, I'll continue to do so.
That's so good. Now let's go to your framework, RAW.
Yes.
Recognize, articulate, weave. How can someone who's listening to this message, this podcast right now, use this in their own life practically?
I think that it's just a really good reminder anytime you have any type of feelings, whether it be happy or sad or frustrated or fearful or somewhere in between. I think taking a moment to recognize where that feeling is coming from and define it and separate it and label it, it just makes you a little bit more aware and it's less of a daunting process. And
Yes.
I think that it's something that can be hard to do in the moment because feelings are so personal and so real, but giving yourself a moment to step away from it and understand why, I think can help you to make more informed decisions in handling it going forward.
Yeah, that is so true. So if someone who's listening right now feels trapped in their own experience, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to know that that's a completely human and natural feeling, and it can be difficult to navigate, but you're never really trapped because the feeling of trapped is a feeling and it is something that you can work through and you have the power of changing. And a lot of it, as hard as it may be, can be a mental battle with yourself. And trying
Mm.
to get at the root of that, I think, will eventually help, even if it's small, small steps.
And I liked what you said that it's an emotion, right? I read a book once that said our emotions are like our children. When they come to you, you don't push them away, you just sit with it for a while and it passes through you. So that's a really nice way of reframing it, that it's not a constant state you'll be in. You just have to sit with it for a while, and when it's done with you, it passes through.
Absolutely.
Beautiful way to reframe how to, handle the experience.
Yes.
Absolutely awesome. Now, what legacy do you hope your music and your story will leave behind?
Legacy. I, at the end of the day, I just want to be someone that helps other people understand their feelings because I also lived through them. And so if my legacy can be just being somebody in this field that helps somebody else feel less alone or helps build community between people, I think that would be a great legacy to leave behind.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really nice. So, how has your relationship with your body changed since understanding what sleep paralysis actually is?
I This might sound funny, but for some reason I feel slightly more centered as a person because I when I'm and again I mentioned I've recently had sleep paralysis a couple nights ago, which was a little bit bizarre because it hasn't happened in a while, but I I feel more in control of myself knowing that all I have to do is kind of concentrate on the fact that it is a passing moment, and even if
Mm.
it feels like the moment
Yeah.
is forever existing, it isn't. And sometimes it's still a little bit scary because your first instinct is to panic and to feel out of control, but eventually control comes back. It leaves super quickly, but it can come back just as quickly if you give it the time and the space to.
Yeah, that's so true. You're very wise for someone your age.
A lot of it is just up here.
I
But
love it. So, do you think creativity, like music, can be a form of healing? And how has it transformed you personally?
I absolutely think that it's healing, and I think it's healing in so many ways. I've always believed that there is something magical not only about being in a room with other people and making music, because that's a whole other experience, but I think there's some type of chemistry that happens between listening to lyrics that you resonate with and having tonality that expresses those lyrics that can be really transformative. And it's interesting because as a vocalist primarily, so much of that is in your body, but it is
Yeah.
also out of your body and you're projecting those feelings. And so there's just something kind of all encompassing about it to me that has always been really special. And that's part of the reason why I love performing live so much. A lot of my music is recorded, but I I don't find as great a joy as I do when I get to stand in front of a room of people and express those feelings live. They're moments in time that are quite unique to me.
Yeah, when it is live, you have that instant connection with other people, right, in the room.
Yes,
It's a completely different experience. So now
absolutely.
for my last two questions, they're a bit of a thought experiment.
Okay.
In the first one, I'm going to teleport you back to the younger you, the young girl who was scared, frightened, unsure of what was happening to her while she slept. If you could go back and give her three nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those three nuggets of wisdom be?
I I'm gonna have to think about that for 2 seconds. I think the first nugget of wisdom would be that the the feeling that I myself when I was younger was feeling is all in your head. Um and that's I guess that's not a great thing to tell somebody when they're in a moment of kind of feeling panicked, but I think breathing is really important and giving yourself a moment to be calm. That would be my first nugget of wisdom. I think the second would be talk about things. Um, Sometimes that's difficult, and sometimes people aren't always as comfortable in sharing personal experiences. But I think the thing that has gotten me through anything the most has been talking about it with my friends and my family and getting it out there, even if it's just writing it down in a journal. At least now it exists somewhere else that isn't just inside of you, and that helps to kind of take away some of the power from whatever you're feeling. And the third, hmm, I'm not sure I have a third. I have to think about it.
It might come before we end the interview, so we'll leave that one for now. Let it
Okay,
percolate.
it's about 2.5.
I love it. All right, so the next question is futuristic. If I teleport you into the future to go and sit with a 90-year-old you,
Okay.
she's now sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her family. Maybe you've had some children and some grandbabies. If you could go into the future to meet this wise woman who has led you up until this point, what will you say to her when you finally meet her?
I think my biggest question for her would probably just I think I would be very curious to see how I still feel about my relationship with music and with sharing my feelings. Obviously, I'm in my mid-20s right now, and the things that I feel at this moment in time are way different from even the 18-year-old version of myself when I first started writing music. And so I think I would be very curious to see if my relationship with music has changed or evolved, and if there is new meaning behind everything that I have done in terms of that. I think it would be very interesting.
I like that. I'll tell you why I like to ask women that question. A lot of women don't realize that the wise woman is already in us, that she is that quiet voice that prompts you and says, write it down, get it out of your head, write a song. And you have been listening to her. This is why you've got to this point. This is why you're here empowering other young people, empowering other people who might go through a similar experience. She's already in you. And I think when you do finally meet her, you just have to say to her, thank you for guiding me, because she is prompting you every step of the way, right? You're trusting something inside you that is leading you to have all this knowledge and this wisdom. But a
Right.
lot of women don't realize that she's there. And we look outside of ourselves for solutions, for answers. But sometimes it's in the stillness of prayer or meditation where you really tap into that wisdom. So thank you for listening to your wise woman and coming online and sharing your knowledge and your experience with us today.
Thank you for giving me a space to do so. It's very important to me that environments like this exist. So I thank you very much for empowering other women and our voices.
It's an absolute pleasure. And like I said to you when we met, I look for women who are go-givers, not go-getters, who are sharing their stories to leave this planet a better place than we found it through your creativity, your music. You just don't know who you're going to reach, right? So keep on keeping on. Keep doing what you're doing. I've got your website at the bottom of the screen. Where else can people find you?
You can find me at my website. That's the main hub, but I'm also on all different kinds of social media. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all under Lauren Mian. So
Fantastic. Lauren, thank you so much.
thank you.
Absolute pleasure to interview you today. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share these stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to help take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you know someone who has an issue with sleep paralysis, is struggling, trying to find a solution, please tag them on this video, share this video on your social media so we can reach more people who need to hear this story as well. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Lauren, thank you again for the interview.
Thank you.
Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.
Shadows growing round me, it's so dark. Figures floating round me, all in bark. And I'm calling. Sheets turn into concrete, I lay still. Words as good as empty watermills. And I'm calling, calling. How long till the sun rises? I can't take any surprises. I'm hallucinating, but how do I know? I'm paralyzed and I'm nowhere, nowhere to go. A push, a pull, a kickless, screaming fight. Trapped between the darkness and the light. And I'm calling, I'm calling. How long till the sun rises? I can't take any surprises. I'm hallucinating, but how do I know? I'm paralyzed and I'm nowhere, nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. Help me, I'm nowhere to go. How long till the sun rises? I can't take any surprises. I'm hallucinating. How do I know? I'm paralyzed and I'm nowhere, nowhere. How long till the sun rises? I can't take any surprises. I'm hallucinating, but how do I know? I'm paralyzed and I'm nowhere, nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go.
Thank you so much, Lauren. That was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.